And action.
You're John.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm John. Yeah. I'm John.
I'm the Borgie one.
Yeah, you're the Borgie one. Yeah. Hi, I'm John.
And I'm Borgie, and welcome to Are You RV Safe? Now in this episode, we're going to create a bit of an RV pit stop, aren't we, John?
We certainly are, Borgie. So we're going to be discussing with our learners what tools and spares that we recommend they take with them for out there on the road.
We're also going to show them how to use those tools and spares to create a bush fix as well.
I hear you're not going to be with us for this episode, Borgie.
Unfortunately not, John. I've got some caravans I need to weigh, but I'm pretty sure you've got it all covered.
Well, as it happens, I've got a few tyres that need to be plugged, so I think I can put our learners to good use.
Hi.
Rolling.
The key to travelling in this great country of ours is really good preparation. We need to make sure that the vehicle is well serviced before we go, so I'd recommend that you go to your local service centre and get them to have a look at the things that they may not normally look at. So underbody, checking the wiring, all that sort of things, because the more remote you go, the more likelihood there is that you may have to do some servicing on your own.
Camping for me has always been about where you go, and I'm excited about the destination and the river and the lake that I get to swim in, and I've always let someone else deal with the vehicle maintenance type of thing. So I am so clueless when it comes to that.
All those things, the filters here, the oil filter, the air filter, the cabin filter and the fuel filter, they're things that would be replaced by the service centre when you present your vehicle there. But having spares to travel with is a really great idea.
In terms of vehicle maintenance and accessories and things, I'm really comfortable working on cars. I've done everything to my own vehicle. But when it comes to a trip away or if I'm towing, put a specialist on the job, because you might be good at spinning spanners, but you're not a mechanic.
Ready? Yeah, silly face.
I love you like now silly face. I'm like,
I was already doing that.
Every vehicle that we come across, sometimes it is quite difficult to get the airbox open, other times it's quite easy. So I would recommend that before you leave home, before you head out on your trip, take the airbox apart and practice removing and replacing that air filter. So Martin, if you would like to please, could you take the top of the airbox off and we will replace it with a nice new clean filter.
I'm fairly mechanically apt, but I tend to be frightened to do too much maintenance work on my own. I'll confidently tackle anything if I've got someone helping me.
So when would be an opportune time to replace the filter, and why do you think you would need to replace the filter? Jesse?
Not sure.
Not sure? Evan, any idea?
Driving in dust usually does it.
Yeah.
I mean, general servicing, you need to change it anyway, but driving in convoys in dusty conditions, clog your air filter up pretty quick.
Yeah, really quickly. I mean, you can clean them out a certain amount of times, maybe using an air compressor to blow the dust out, but there comes a point in time when the service life of the air filter is finished. You need to put a new one in, and then that way your fuel economy must be much better as well. So Martin's fitted all that up really nicely now. The thing to remember with this, of course, is that this is purely practice. This air filter, brand new, perfectly clean. If it was dirty and dusty and being used, you would be able to tap it and you'd see dust and material falling out of it that have been caught over the time when you're out there travelling.
It's good to know.
So one of the other things that's under the bonnet here next to Martin, and it's something that I've not had a lot of experience and a lot of exposure to, is a catch can. Now, you've written a few articles about these, Evan, and
Definitely.
you want to explain what they do?
Sure, just simply, if you see this hose here, that's coming from the top of the engine. That's where crankcase gases escape during the combustion process.
Right.
So this is going into the bottom. There's a filter in the catch can, and then we're feeding back into, I think, back the intake or sometimes the turbo, depends car to car. That's going to catch oil that's going to turn into carbon, basically.
So contaminants and that sort of thing.
You do have to check that though. It's another thing to service, so you might have to drain it or change the filter, but every, say, 10,000 Ks.
I noticed this one's got a little indicator on the top here. That's probably to indicate when it needs to be changed.
That's right. That's unique to this Ryco catch can we've got fitted up. I don't know any other one on the market that has that. So, you know, it's 2024, John. Why not have an indicator?
Works for me.
John and the learners sometimes have to wait quite a while before the camera crew are ready. As a result, they can forget what they're actually supposed to be doing.
After 500 Ks. It's because the spring sags. That makes so much sense. So you actually, it's going to get loose. I thought it was just it could come loose, but no, it's because
Still rolling. Still rolling.
Interesting. You rolling?
I tend to make it a habit that when I get into camp, I go around the vehicle just looking for anything that is not quite right. When it comes to the wheel nuts, I always have a torque wrench in my toolkit that I take away with me. It's really important that we make sure the wheel nuts are the correct tightness. If they're too tight, there's a chance that we could break wheel studs. And if they're not tight enough, well, then there's a chance that the wheel can come off. Jessie, would you like to have a crack at using a torque wrench?
I'll have a go at using a torque wrench.
So I have one set up here. Come around this side. It's set to the correct tension, and
Yes.
what will happen is that when it gets to the correct tension, you will actually hear it click.
Okay.
That's as much as we need to do.
So righty-tighty.
Yep, righty-tighty, that's correct. That's it.
There we go.
Fantastic. Remembering that when we do a wheel nuts back up, we always do them in a star pattern or diagonally opposite pattern, whether it's 5 or 6 stud wheel pattern, but always opposite so that the wheel sits on there nice and evenly.
Can I have a go now?
No, get your own torque wrench. Try it on a different wheel nut though.
Star pattern.
Star pattern, that's it.
You listened.
Great, that's all that needs to happen. That's a check that we will do very regularly when we're travelling, especially when we're on corrugated roads, because everything seems to be shaken and loosened while we're travelling on corrugated roads. Now that we've done this wheel, let's move on to the trailer. We've got a couple of checks that we need to do down.
Will I bring my new torque wrench?
Absolutely, bring your new torque wrench.
Prevention is the key when you're out on a road trip, so there's a few things you should be checking daily.
One of the checks that I do...
Hold up. That's not working for me.
So Martin, if you come over here, and Evan, if you could just open up to camera a little bit more like that.
One of the checks that I do very regularly, and by that I mean every time I refuel the vehicle, is I will do a walk around the vehicle and check the temperature of both the tyres and the wheel hubs. But here, I mean, they're cold now, but if that was excessively hot, it would mean that there might be one of two problems. Either the brakes on the wheel are actually dragging a little bit, or the bearing might be starting to fail. Either case, it needs some attention. So if you're in a town that's got a service centre available, probably not a bad idea to go and talk to them to see if they can rectify the issue.
So John, you're checking for temperature. How hot is too hot?
You go to touch it and you automatically drag your hand away quickly because it's just too hot. And you go, yeah, that's way too hot. So it needs your attention then. So let's take this opportunity now then to lay out the canvas sheet that we've brought with us. Great piece of kit to have with you, by the way. It has a multitude of uses, and we'll just have a look underneath the trailer. At my age, I'll certainly get down there. I'm not sure if I'll ever get back though.
What's going on down here?
So a few things we need to look for underneath here. Some of these cable ties might need attention in the future. We've got a couple of taps that are potentially targets for rocks coming off the back tyres of the car.
Gotcha.
Grey water tank here, water tank at the back, water tank at the front. Also looking at the shock absorbers as well. I love the fact that they're white because you can then see any oil drips that might come down and that sort of stuff. Also checking for the mounting bolts on the shocks. This one's also got airbags as well, which is pretty neat for a van this size.
Definitely.
So always best to familiarise yourself with how the underside of the caravan and the underside of the car look, so that when you do check things in the future, you will notice anything that's out of place really, really quickly.
You need some help, John.
You get a good shot, Rob?
Hey, Mel, we might need the lip brush again.
So one of the things that happens on the road quite a lot, unfortunately, punctures. It could be a stone puncture in the crown, it could be a screw anywhere, and it happens on the road, off-road. There's no rhyme or reason to it, it just happens. We're going to simulate a hole in the tyre. We're actually going to drill a hole in the tyre and then put a plug in the tyre. Now, putting a plug in the tyre, you don't obviously need to have the tyre off. It actually can still be on the vehicle when you do this. So, drill a hole in the tyre.
Yeah, I've changed a fair few spare tyres in my time. The joys of press cars is they come with stock tyres, and we tend to kill a couple every trip, basically. So That's part of the parcel. That's why I've got an impact gun and tools in the back of my car all the time.
Whoops.
How deflating.
So now, whilst that's going down, we're just going to get one of the plugs out. They are gooey and sticky. Going to feed it into the applicator. Put the applicator into a little bit of tyre lube. Okay, and just withdraw the applicator. So now the plug is in there. Just trim the excess, it will wear off. So all we need to do now that the plug is in is just re-inflate the tyre. Who would like to have a crack?
Yeah, I'd like to have a
All
go
right,
there.
no worries.
I think it's fairly likely that at some point I'll have to use a tyre repair kit.
Quite a bit of weight to get this in. Just watch your wrist, that's it, and it's in now.
Feeling really confident that I'll be able to plug a tyre out on the road and then drive somewhere much safer to take the wheel off and replace it with the spare.
Fantastic job, that looks like a great repair. Jessie, would you like to have a go at this now, please?
Yep.
Have you done this before?
I've done it a couple of times before, yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Under what circumstances?
Oh, well, my husband's a roofer, so there's sometimes random screws left on our driveway when he empties his pockets on the way in.
Oh, let's have a look at your technique. Let's see how well you do this. Just drill yourself a hole there, lady. Oh, anywhere, just in there will do.
There, you reckon?
Yeah, to make it easy for ourselves.
Oh,
Not allowed to use that word.
can you just like cut the sound on that? I never was good at threading needles.
Would you like me to start that for you?
Nope.
Okay, look at that.
Oh,
Good,
look at that.
nicely done, thank you. All right, bit of force here now. Go in easier, there you go, look at that. Superb. Yeah, that was pretty magnificent actually. I'm very impressed.
I have had to plug a tyre as well, more times than I'd care to mention, but it's a very good skill again to practice and keep up with too.
So hopefully you will never have to do this when you're out on the track, but at least now you know how to.
I reckon I'd be confident to do that now.
Yeah,
No
It's
worries.
pretty good, isn't it?
Let's put some air in it, I reckon.
Yeah, let's get some air in it and get back on the road.
Despite the fact tyre plugs can last a long time, they should not be considered a permanent fix. It's recommended to use them to get you out of trouble or until you get to the next town. It's also important to note that tyre plugs are effective in the tread of the tyre, but not the sidewall or the shoulder. Still, it's definitely worth keeping a set in your kit and knowing how to use them.
Cut.
The joy of having all of this gear with you is the fact that you are going to show some level of autonomy while you're out there. You might be travelling the Great Central Road or the Gun Barrel Highway, or even along the Nullarbor. There's big distances between places there. So what you need to make sure of is that when you are out there, you've got enough stuff to help you get going again should you need to. And on that, we're going to do a little bit of practice soldering, just in case one of these 7-pin plugs or 12-pin plugs ever does come loose and it's just dangling on the ground and breaks away. Anybody any good at that?
I'll let you know.
Not much good at all.
Not much good on soldering iron, okay?
I'll go all right. I'll call it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10?
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
You'll let you know? Yeah, I can solder to get myself out of trouble. That's pretty much about it.
I had soldered before, but I've never been shown how to do it properly. It's always been an arts and crafts project that failed.
A 7-pin plug, or more commonly these days, a 12-pin plug, connects the electrical system from your vehicle to your RV. It powers the blinkers, brake lights, and some auxiliary power. That's what the learners are going to be soldering today.
So I'm just going to get this out to give you a little bit of stability. She's on.
Beauty.
So remember to use the soldering iron to heat up the wire first, and then just introduce a little bit of solder to the tip of the iron so that it heats that wire, that section of wire nice and evenly.
Basically, a soldering iron is a hot iron. You hold that on one side of the electrical wire. The heat that is transferred to the electrical wire is enough to start melting the metal, known as the solder. This will then drip onto whatever it is you're trying to secure, which in this instance is the electrical wire.
That's soldered, I believe.
Well done, mate. For a roadside repair,
It'll do the job.
it's definitely going to do the job.
Yeah.
So what am I doing? Heating up this
Heating
a bit?
out the wire
What,
from underneath.
from underneath?
Yeah.
What,
That way you
by
can
just-
introduce the solder from the top.
By just going like this?
Yeah. Yeah. Now we introduce a little bit of solder to the tip. That's terrific, Jesse, really well done. Pete, the sound guy, as part of our crew, came up with a fantastic analogy. The frayed ends of the wire are a lot like when you cut a rope. They get all frayed, so you burn the end of the rope to stop it from fraying. Here with the wires, we actually soldered the end of the wires to stop them from fraying, so that it goes back into the hole in the plug nice and easily.
Well, that's another skill the learners have mastered. How much more can we fit into one day?
Repair's done.
I like that smell.
Oh, don't.
That's not good for you.
Why?
For a little while and then you'll make you dead. First aid kits, snake bite kit. Two of the things that I would absolutely never leave home without. All the mechanical stuff that we carry, all the tools and that sort of thing, all about the car. This is really important stuff because it's all about us this time, yeah? So anybody ever had to use a snake bite kit?
No.
No?
No,
Never had to use one?
never.
Okay, lucky. It's a good thing.
Very accident prone, so first aid kit, yes, but snake bite, no.
Great thing I like about these ones is the fact that absolutely everything is labelled. It's very difficult to get it wrong. And they're only a small package and very easy to get hold of. So imagine you're out in the bush somewhere and somebody within your crew gets bitten by a snake. What are you going to do?
The very first thing I do is panic, for sure.
All right, so is that going to help the person who's been bitten?
Not one bit.
Not one bit. It's one of those stressful situations. Somebody gets bitten by a snake. What's going to happen? How do we do it? Where do we go? Can we move these people? Do they need to sit still? What do you think?
No, I think you've got to keep them as still as possible.
Yep.
Maybe try and see what bit them. If you see the snake.
If you see the snake slithering away somewhere and you have a fair idea of how to identify it, great, even coloration, but most snakes don't always fit the genre of the type of snake. But for goodness sake, don't go chasing after it, all right? The most important thing is that we now deal with that person. So the consensus was we don't move them. Is that true?
From what I know, it's not your bloodstream, it's your lymph nodes.
Yeah, it's a lymphatic system.
So you want to just be as chill as possible.
Yeah.
And
The other thing that you will need to treat them for is the fact that they may go into shock as well. So in the kit, you will find a space blanket, wrap them up in a space blanket, keep them nice and warm, and keep them well rested. Don't move them. All good?
very good, yeah.
All right, so who are we going to practice on? Okay, so Martin, you've been bitten by a snake on the left hand. Evan, all
you.
yours.
Okay. We don't think we need gloves, a pressure bandage. Where have you been bitten? So,
on the hand.
oh, that's a shame. Definitely not doing this right, but hold on to that so you don't move. Wrap around fairly tight.
All right, so before you go too much further,
Yep.
what I'll do is I'll stop you there,
Yep.
and then we'll actually go through it correctly.
Do the right,
All right.
the right thing. Show the people.
So the splint
Yep.
we will use to immobilise his arm once
Okay.
we've got the bandage in place.
Righto.
The bandage has got the rectangle in it, and the correct tension is when you bring it out to a square.
That's really clever.
So we start at the fingertips, basically just do 1 or 2 wraps over the bite site, work down to the fingertips, and then all the way up to the top of the arm. Bite site's there, we won't wash the bite site because they can use the venom to identify what type of snake is bitten.
Just relax, mate. And then down to the fingers.
Yeah, that's good.
Square.
Okay, so start to work your way up the arm now.
And just tuck that in.
Yeah, just tuck that in and then let's get the next one on.
Cool. Thank you, doctor.
Looks like Evan's the kind of guy you want around if your arm ever needs to be bandaged.
Can you open up the splint for me, please, Jesse? So let's form that splint to create a cradle, like a U shape to cradle his arm.
That's right.
So, John, should we keep Martin's arm elevated, or what's the best practice here?
Well, if it was a normal wound, say a bleeding wound of some description,
Yep.
then yes, we would elevate the arm and rest him. But because we're dealing with the lymphatic system here, gravity is one of our friends in this
Yep.
case, so we'll keep the arm pointed downwards.
Okay.
All good?
I'm happy with that. I think that looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's as good a job as we can do in the circumstances that we've been given.
I was glad we did the segment on snakebite because I think it's changed since what I learned years ago. So yeah, I'm glad we did that.
Well, Borgie, I know I've had to do quite a few bush fixes out there on the road. What about yourself?
Well, that's a little bit of a silly question, John. You know I'm pretty harsh on the equipment. I've had to do many bush fixes in the past. So I can attest that the information that you've given our learners is really crucial in the spirit of being well prepared.
So join us next time to ask the question,
Are you?
RV safe?
Not bad. Sorry. Yeah, let's do that again.
Next week on Are You RV Safe, we're heading off-road. The learners will be getting a hard and fast lesson in how to tow on the dirt as well as the sand. Let's see who does best behind the wheel.
Of each one. Can you read it?
RV Safe is a safety initiative of the CMCA, Australia's largest RV club. Join the CMCA to meet like-minded travellers, for discounts on insurance, access to RV parks, the Wanderer magazine, and their popular GeoWiki X-Travel app.
Fun to be in the CMCA.